Chapter 5 Night Visitors At the first whisper of sound, Conan was fully awake. His eyes slitted in the darkness of his chamber, and his fist closed upon the hilt of his dagger. Mordermy had given over to him one of the rooms of the mansion. Conan had made up a pallet amidst the bales and piles of plundered goods from whence he could watch the door. It was the soft snick of the well-oiled bolt that had awakened him after only a few hours of sleep. Someone had quickly cracked open the door and slipped past, of that Conan was certain, even though the door was again closed and the room in total darkness. Unable to see, the intruder was waiting to orient himself within the cluttered storeroom. Silently, Conan slid from beneath his blanket and crept toward the almost indiscernible sound of soft breathing. As he stealthily closed with the unseen visitor, Conan suddenly relaxed his tense grip upon the kidney dagger. To his nostrils came the piquant fragrance of perfume and sweat. Conan swept out his arm and gathered in a startled female form. Sandu gave an involuntary yelp of surprise, then subsided in his embrace. The quick brush of his arms made it plain to Conan that the woman carried no weapon.
I might have gutted you,
Conan reproached her. Mitra, are you a cat that you can see in the dark?
I heard your breathing, smelled your perfume.
Conan wondered that he had to explain the obvious.
I thought I'd locked that door.
Anyone can pick these locks, Sandu replied in the same tone. But then, who would steal from Mordurmi?
Indeed.
Sandu wore only a thin shift. Conan, who wore rather less, was keenly aware of the warm body that pressed against his own bare flesh. I danced until very late tonight, Sandu told him. The others are all drunk and snoring after celebrating Santidio's escape. Conan, who had left the festivities earlier that evening, was not slow to comprehend. Perhaps, had he not lingered along the way to his quarters with his convivial bath attendant, Conan's response now would have been different. The Cimmerian acted according to his savage code of honor, a code not overly governed by temperance, and the voluptuous figure that embraced him in the darkness was as tempting as any succubus. I told you I wouldn't forget what you did for my brother, Sandu whispered, her fingers teasing.
You are Mordurmi's woman,
Conan reminded her with an effort. Mordurmi need not know. He has not been my first lover, nor will he be my last. I'm no austere maiden like my sainted sister.
It doesn't matter,
Conan protested, knowing that if matters went any further his passions would override his ethics.
Mordurmi is my host and my friend. I'll not cuckold him in his own house.
Such piety, Sandu scoffed. Who would have believed it in a barbarian mercenary? My touch tells me that you're not one of those who will only ride another stallion. Surely you're not afraid of Mordurmi. Anger thickened Conan's tone.
No doubt it's strange to you that I have not become sufficiently civilized to roll in the hay with a friend's woman. In Cimmeria, our customs are somewhat archaic.
Well then, this isn't Cimmeria, is it? Sandu teased. Surely now a man of your class hasn't paused to propose marriage to every wench he's tumbled.
Not to a slut,
Conan snarled. Anger was now overruling the lust he felt for her.
But if I care for a woman, then I make her my woman, and I'd kill any man who tried to steal my woman. Mordurmi feels the same if I'm any judge of men. If I take you for my own, it would mean a fight. I'm not ready to kill a friend over any woman.
Oh, so. Sandu drew away, her own temper aroused now. Santidio was right. You are an altruist. Well, my possessive Cimmerian, I wasn't offering to become your barbarian hut mate in some stinking mountain village. I was offering you a night's pleasure. I was curious to learn whether there was a man underneath all that pretty muscle. Instead, all I find is one great hulking fool. As Sandu haughtily slipped from his grasp and made for the door, Conan almost agreed with her pronouncement. He was not accustomed to thinking through his actions, and only the fact that betrayal of a friend was abhorrent to his every instinct prevented him from seizing her and throwing her willing flesh down against his palate. Instead, he let her go to the door. After the total darkness of Conan's chamber, the gloom of the corridor beyond made a bright bar of light as the door opened. Sandukazi's bare tread had been soundless, so that the man outside the door was outlined in the band of light. Although taken unawares, he recovered instantly, and the knife in his hand gleamed balefully as he stabbed downward. No less startled herself, Sandukazi screamed piercingly. The intruder's arm wavered involuntarily. He hadn't expected a woman, and that hesitation was enough for Sandukazi to writhe under the blow. With a dancer's litheness, she rolled into the hallway, taking a shallow cut as the blade sliced the shoulder of her shift. She screamed again. The assassin whirled, still discomfited by the unexpected turn of events. Uncertain whether to silence her or to attack the man he thought to find asleep here, Conan, lunging out of the darkness, struck first. Seizing the man's knife arm, he drove the kidney dagger into the intruder's belly, tearing upward in a gutting stroke that sheared into breastbone. The man's bellow of pain melted into a dull groan as he sank from Conan's grasp and spilled onto the floor. Sandukazi stopped screaming and looked at Conan with glowing eyes. By now, other cries of alarm resounded throughout the mansion. Men came running into the hallway, blades bright in the light of the torches they carried. Mordor was among them. There was question in his face as he and his men took in the tableau. Sandukazi did not hesitate. I was about to retire when I saw someone slinking along the hallway. His manner was suspicious. I followed him, and when he paused before Conan's door, I knew him to be an assassin. I screamed a warning to Conan. The assassin struck me, and then Conan grappled with the man and killed him. She drew down the slashed shoulder of her shift, examined the cut there. It bled freely, but was little more than a scratch. Conan had better sense than to contradict her story.
You should have summoned one of us. Mordor accepted her words. You might have been killed.
Summoned whom? You were all passed out over your cups.
Turn him over, and let's see who he is, Mordor directed. What kind of security do I have that lets coarse assassins swagger through my quarters at will?
They rolled the corpse onto its back, shoved a torch close to the bloody face. Several of them swore.
Mitra, it's Velio. Mordor growled. I held Velio, one of my most trusted lieutenants. So Rimonendo's gold has corrupted even those I thought were my close friends. Conan, I offered you shelter here and nearly caused your death.
Conan remained silent. In his own mind, he was uncertain whether this Velio was indeed a spy and assassin, or a loyal henchman who, having witnessed Sandukazi's dalliance, was only intent upon avenging his lord's honor.